to gain better operational visibility and control by harnessing the power of data. So prior to the pandemic, many companies were eager to start the adoption of Industry 4.0, but efforts were somewhat lost in transition. Digitalization is emerging as the real option to enable manufacturing and supply chains to attain strength and adapt to the new norm. And so without much ado, I'm happy to welcome the moderator, panelists from Rockwell, and all the participants today to this morning webinar, and look forward to a fruitful discussion with the experts for a better water future in Malaysia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, and now I'm inviting Ms. Usha from Rockwell to give a few words and introduce our speaker today.
Thanks, Amira. I'm just going to quickly share my screen.
Okay, let me stop sharing this.
Yes, thank you.
All right, okay.
So let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep, see it well.
All right, thank you, Amira. Very good morning to everyone. I'm Usha, the Channel Sales Manager with Rockwell Automation Malaysia. I would like to welcome you to our Digital Transformation Water webinar. This is a collaboration between Rockwell Automation and the Malaysian Water Association. I would like to introduce you to our speakers for today. We have first Mr. Abe Dube, who is our Regional Industry Manager for Asia Pacific. He's responsible for the heavy industry, which includes water, chemical, power, and cement, metal mining, oil and gas. Abe is based out of Singapore. He's responsible for working with the leadership team to develop the Asia Pacific Industry Strategic Plan and drive execution. Next, we have Mr. Li Weishi, who is the Senior Solution Consultant with Rockwell Automation Southeast Asia. Weishi has over 15 years experience in automation across various industries, including water, wastewater, life science, and infrastructure. He is part of our large project pursuit team, where he's responsible to bring Rockwell Automation's capabilities to meet customers' expectations. Weishi is also based out of Singapore. And our final speaker for today will be Mr. Kim Soon, our Network and Security Services Business Leader for Southeast Asia. Kim Soon has over 17 years experience in the IT industry. His vast experience in the IT world makes him the right person to address the topic on cybersecurity. He's also familiar with customer support and professional services in a cross-industry arena. Kim Soon is based out of Puchong, Malaysia. But before we invite our first speaker, Abe, to start his presentation, you might be asking why Rockwell Automation, or even what Rockwell Automation has to offer to the water industry. So here's a short video of what Rockwell Automation Smart Water is about and how it can transform your water universe. Thank you.
Miss Carol will share the video. Thank you, Miss Carol.
The average utility loses 16% of its water supply annually. But that's just one of your challenges. Rising population is putting increasing demands on your utility's capacity limits. Extreme weather tests the resilience and sustainability of your system. Population growth and climate change escalate the importance of water preservation and reuse. Aging infrastructure is outpacing the available capital necessary to modernize your facilities. Experienced employees are retiring, leaving a knowledge gap in the workforce. Regulations are tightening. Entire systems are vulnerable to cybersecurity threats. Rockwell Automation offers smart water solutions to meet these challenges by providing expertise to spark a digital transformation that improves the operational facets of your water and wastewater systems, all built on a foundation of security. Better information leads to better decisions. By leveraging modern software tools and analytics, we create a digital solutions framework to allow more informed decision-making and improved performance. Bridging the gap between digital and physical assets, supporting the convergence of OT and IT, and fully integrating computerized maintenance management systems are critical to ensure system reliability and predictive maintenance. Digital twins, augmented reality, and modern support centers simplify resource deployment and reduce the time to resolve critical issues. Whether it's tighter regulations, emergency response, or deploying the next generation of employees, the ability to remotely monitor and control equipment means better compliance and overall asset management. Smart water solutions from Rockwell Automation help our clients stay connected and informed about their infrastructure and regulatory obligations, their maintenance schedules, their networks and security, their operations team, their customers, and their future. Start your digital transformation today. Let smart water solutions from Rockwell Automation transform your water universe.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline and Ms. Usha. We will now begin our presentation with our first speaker today, Mr. Abhay Duhe. Mr. Abhay, you're still on mute, yeah?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you clear.
Okay. Can you see me?
I'll spell it for everyone. Okay.
Are you able to see my screen?
I'm able to see a screen currently.
You are. Okay.
All right.
So I think I'll go ahead and start. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you, Usha, for the introduction. As Usha mentioned, I'm the industry sales manager for heavy industries within Asia Pacific for Rockwell Automation. Now, it's a privilege to talk to you today, and thank you for allowing me to present our capabilities for the water and wastewater industry today. The objective over the next 50 minutes is to talk to you on some of the challenges that the water industry is facing and how Rockwell Automation as a company can support you to overcome these challenges. The water industry is evolving. Raised consumer awareness and stakeholder operational demands over this most precious resource are guiding utilities to build smarter, more sustainable infrastructure. Many utilities are leveraging advancements in technology to help design, operate, and maintain today's smart water plant, which we in Rockwell call it the connected water plant. Now, before we start with the available solutions, let us understand what are some of the challenges or issues that some of the water industry specialists have highlighted. And I believe you just heard the video and you heard some of the challenges, but this is on top of that. So according to Global Water Intelligence or GWI, there are a couple of things to note. 75% of the world's population do not have access to potable water. Now, this is quite astonishing considering that many of us listening to this webinar live in developed or developing economies and are just unable to comprehend that. the spend in the water industry is going to be huge over the next 10 years. Point to note for most of us is what United Nations Water is saying, that 86% of the developed countries are going to spend their money on smart cities. This includes how do we implement smart water solution. Since according to census, billions of dollars are going to be saved by implementing smart water solutions. Possibly by migrating their legacy systems to smart solutions and avoid the cost of unscheduled downtime.
I'm so sorry, sir. I think I'll stop you for a bit. But your voice is breaking here. We can't hear you clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all cracking sound.
Okay, so
Okay, now it's actually better.
now it's better? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what I was saying is basically I was going through the issues or the challenges that we have in the connected water plant. And I can read through some of these, but maybe quickly going through some of that, what I was trying to say is that 75% of the world's population.
Okay, sorry, sir. It's happening again.
Okay.
I think is it because of
Will it
your
help
mic?
if you turn off your video?
Yeah, turn off your video, perhaps, Abe.
Yeah.
Hold on, my video.
Maybe it's your mic also. I don't know. Speaking too close to your mic. Tak apa lah,
Is it better?
Mira. Okay, just carry on lah. Okay.
Okay.
Don't
Is it-
interrupt. Don't interrupt him. Then carry on. Carry on, Abby. Carry on.
Yeah, is it getting better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so quickly, what I'm going to say is that on this screen, the connected water plant, there are some challenges. You can read some of these challenges. And basically what we're trying to say is, in summary, it's important to realize the smart digital plan. Basically, the smart digital plan has become a business imperative because of the challenges above. So you have the world's population increasing, as we heard before. The capex spending is increasing. The 86% of the developed countries
Nice.
for smart cities, or they are going to be urbanized. There's a huge amount of dollars saved each year by utilities actually spending smart water solutions. And basically, there's a lot of unscheduled downtime. So therefore, the smart digital plan has become a business imperative. I'm not able to transit from this screen. So hold on. Oops. So my screen just refuses to move. Oops, here it is. Okay, I'm on to my next screen. Can you see this screen right now?
The post-pandemic screen.
Correct, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And now with the post-pandemic, we see additional challenges. Okay, water being an essential resource, plants have to run 24/7. And considering the MCO or circuit breakers or lockdowns, depending on where you are, these challenges get exponentially multiplied with restriction in movement. So it is important to build resilience, and remote operations and monitoring becomes an important aspect, which is also part of the smart solutions or connected water plant. Now, for those who are not familiar with what a smart water network is, in layman terms, it is essentially a technology stack with physical assets connected at the bottom. Now, the physical assets could be something like your pump stations and tanks. The next layer is having sensors connected to those assets and collecting data in real time, followed by the movement of data from sensors via controllers, either to control a variable or for data acquisition. The next layer is where the data gets visualized by the operators. And here is where the data gets managed. Finally, on the top, the data gets analyzed to derive some intelligence. And this is where your tools like artificial intelligence or machine learning reside. Now, I've tried to explain this in a very simplistic way, but for the instrumentation and control engineers out there, they must be very familiar with the ISA 95 automation pyramid. Now, here is another way of representing that. A typical smart water plant is populated with a vast array of intelligent assets or smart devices such as flow instrumentation, sensors, controllers, variable speed drives, and operator stations. So what is the problem? The problem is that these devices are not talking, or basically not talking to each other. So what happens is data remains trapped within each asset due to a variety of factors, including disparate automation technologies, legacy and proprietary communication systems, and insufficient context around data to turn it into useful information. Integrated control and information solutions from Rockwell Automation, like the Plant PX distributed control system, break down these barriers by bringing secure access to the data contained in intelligent assets and then adding context, which creates actionable information about what is really happening through the operation, such as throughput, process quality, asset health, and energy efficiency. Now, this information allows utilities to be more strategic when making decisions, leading to increased production, reduced operational costs, and better responsiveness to market demands. The connected water plant is built on Rockwell Automation's DCS, we call it Plant PX, a complete plant-wide solution that collects real-time data and diagnostics and has audit capabilities. Now, connecting this plant view to Allen Bradley's controllers enables fast troubleshooting, better decision-making, and real-time feedback. So any water or wastewater network involves large number of physical assets, often dispersed across a large area. Increasing connectivity allows utilities to replace educated guesses with real-time on network conditions and to enhance their planning with predictive modeling and advanced analytics. So how does Rockwell Automation make it happen? This approach, which we call it as the connected water plant, and the various levels of technology take form in various applications in the water and wastewater industry spectrum. Now, this can be an eye chart to many. However, it was a challenge to fit in all the applications that Rockwell Automation can support you as a customer within the water industry. So whether we are talking about intake or desalination distribution or raw pumping, the concept of a connected water plant still holds value. As these various agencies and firms address their role in this ecosphere, we strive to align our services and solutions as enablers for their digital transformation. Now, actually, we transition from how to what, or rather, what are the areas for a connected water plant as examples of the journey towards a digital transformation. Basically, there are 4 aspects. Number 1, operational intelligence, where we collect, aggregate, and display data across operations and ensure that there is data integrity for compliance and accurate decision making. The second is intelligent asset optimization. Here we understand equipment performance and anticipate issues before they occur based on our smart solutions. Third, we enhance workforce productivity with real-time information, remote collaboration, and expert capture, which helps you to reduce maintenance costs and predict failures so that operators can take corrective action. And finally, scalable analytics, which helps you to optimize your process with our embedded artificial intelligence at the controller level. Now, as you plan, design, and move through your journey towards creating a connected water plant, keep some guiding principles in mind. The best approach is open. Your connected water plant solutions should support not only your main automation vendor systems, but also the full range of third-party systems that you have in place or may someday use. Using open architecture technologies is the best way to do this. Security is non-negotiable. Be sure your entire digital approach, including the hardware and software you use, and the vendors you work with, support a secure pathway from production data to actionable information. And finally, the right partner is paramount. Choose a vendor with the right mix of project management, domain expertise, and industry experience to fit your needs. And this is where Rockwell Automation can provide you that support with our knowledge-driven operations, providing you the digital tools to deliver better insights, and finally, providing you that operational efficiency with our technologies like Factory Talk Innovation Suite, we call it FTIS, which includes machine language and artificial intelligence. Now, I'll quickly go through an example of a solution that we applied for a what we call it as a city station located in Texas, which is basically a water plant. So when you control a water or wastewater facility, the real-time data is manipulated in milliseconds. Too much and too fast for human consumption. Process parameters changing on the fly, aggregation and context for complex data is critical for rapid decision-making by operators managers. Through integrated control and information systems, we are turning data into actionable information for improved decision-making. So what happened was this customer actually integrates their data for continuous improvements in many ways and uses Rockwell Automation software solutions to do it. Data from process systems and reporting systems are given context and then aggregated to provide plant-wide insights. Employing these principles, the city was able to produce close to about 8.1 gallons per day to about 11.8 gallons. In addition, the better visibility, the city was able to save over $65,000. Now, coming to my last slide, we at Rockwell Automation take pride on expanding human possibility, which is our tagline. We connect the imagination of people with intelligent machines to help provide customers reliable, safe, and affordable drinking water. From process control to advanced analytics, we are passionate about providing integrated control solutions. So let us help you realize a connected water plant today. Now, we understand various utilities, or you as an end user, are at various stages of smart city adoption. So whether your plant is just beginning or further along, Rockwell Automation Solutions are flexible enough to meet your needs and prepare you for the future. We would be more than willing to get into a deep dive discussion with you to address your challenge and work towards providing similar benefits that we provided you for the Texas facility that I spoke about. With that, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhay. Now, our second speaker, Mr. Wesley.
Good morning, everyone. I hope my voice is audible.
Yep.
Great. Good morning. My name is Li Weishi. I'm a solution consultant from Rockwell Automation Southeast Asia. So today I'm going to talk about digital transformation in water industry. As mentioned by the Abhay, difficulty in interconnections and interoperabilities, information silo, a common issue in water information and automation systems. Let me share with you the challenges encountered by many water operators in water industries. The existing systems, including GIS, geographical information systems, integrated and centralized command center, automation control, secure CCTV, metering, and building systems, are mostly tailor-made and implemented by the different system provider. That resulted in inconsistency in data type, structure. Such systems are challenging to replicate and difficult to expand quickly and reliably. Information systems and the automation system are normally managed by the different department, where we see different ownership here. Inconsistent data generation and the utilizations among water agency and water treatment plants. And lastly, lacking or having insufficient technical staff. Government has also raised the bar on water qualities, waste discharge, safety, and energy savings. Comply with this new statutory regulation in time is also challenging. The nature of the water industry is also determined by other factors like seasons, different time periods, weather, water quality, and the rapidly changing water volumes. Therefore, traditional automation technology is difficult to achieve dynamic management. High human intervention also increase uncertainty. The complexity of a water process, and not forgetting about the safety is another key topic to tackle. So let me share with you some example of smart water. We're looking into have a less human involvement, which is having unmanned water plant operations. We're also looking to optimize energy consumptions, reduce chemical usage in dosing process, reduce the fluctuation in the water distribution network, to resolve the shortage of experienced operators, and to be able to comply with the compliance requirement by the industry as well as government regulations. To be able to have the information readily, for example, generate reports on the flies. Lastly, to be able to continue to look for ways to optimize operation processes. So how do we do that? We will need to go back to the basic. So before I jump to the solution we offer, I would like to briefly explain what is the digital transformation and maybe a chart that you can take a look to find out where you are today in this transformation journeys. First of all, I need to stress that this is a strategy or a process. It is not a project or systems. It is a strategy for changing the way water operator works. And it all starts with admitting there is a problem. So what's the problem? We can't, or we did not operate, make decisions with the real-time data and the information. And what we are trying to achieve here in digital transformation is to be connected. As first step, means all the smart things are going to be connected in your organizations. We also want them to be integrated. Means all the various pieces of software, intelligence, hardware, human being, and the information they created from the data that can be collected across all the organization. Next is we need to be informed in real time. For example, I want to know what my actual cost of operation. I wanted to know what my actual revenue at this moment. Also, the reason why I'm behind schedule. Next, everybody knows the current state of the business. For example, today is a good day or bad day. This hour is a good hour or bad hour. Next will be someone's, that's actually everyone trying to achieve. This is a future state. This is where machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the predictive analytics come into the picture. For example, a digitally transformed water operator will be able to know the future state based on the current state and the past performance, so that they can predict the future state accurately. Next is able to predict failures. This is not only include the machine failures, it's also include operational failure, scheduling failure, raw material failures. We wanted to be able to predict failure from the data and the information. And next, it is automated recommendation systems where the connected ecosystem is able to recommend operational adjustment through the artificial intelligence, through the prediction of the various types of failures. Lastly, is the ability to execute those recommendations. It will be the role of human being, which is the person who decide whether or not to execute the recommendation or operational adjustment come from artificial intelligence. Here, we are going to value add human decision making rather than replace human or headcount in the middle of digital transformations. FactoryTalk Innovation Suite, powered by PTC, is the first comprehensive pre-integrated industry suite built for the innovation at the enterprise scale. This full-stack software suite simplifies the digital transformation and accelerate innovations across the industry enterprise with unified access to the data and the seamless integration with the key capabilities needed to realize maximum impact at the scale. Our portfolio comprises of industrial IoT, Internet of Things, connectivities, edge to enterprise level and analytics, manufacturing execution systems, and augmented reality. The seamless integration between those products is powered by a common information model that enrich OT data at a source. And it is able to deliver meaningful data to upstream IT applications. Today, we will be showcasing our IoT platform, ThingWorks, and the augmented reality solution in a demo. And I will walk you through all these solutions are being used in a typical water treatment plant. Before I start the demo, I will briefly explain on the equipment that we will be focusing today. Then I will start the day by playing the role of maintenance manager in HQ, reviewing all the equipment located in different plants in different locations via IoT platform, ThingWorks. It provides you with all the real-time data of the assets. In the demo scenario, IoT platform ThingWorks is showing predictive alerts of pressure leak on one of the equipments by analyzing machine condition data, historical data from the similar machine. So how do we react to such an issue? We will need to file an alert to our on-site maintenance team to resolve the problem. Before showing you how the on-site team received the alerts, we'll also show you how a plant manager can understand the overall status of the plant. Everything is just a few click away. Then we will move on to the maintenance team on site, who will receive the alert from the HQ. They will then look into the problem and also review if the problem is affecting other processes in the water treatment plant. Finally, we will see how field service technicians prepare themselves in fixing a failing asset via augmented reality solutions. So let me first introduce you the often used equipment in wastewater treatment plant, the Diaphragm Compressor. So you will be able to have a better understanding of this particular demo. In wastewater treatment operations, diaphragm compressors are often used to convert low pressure gas or liquid to high pressure through a flexible membrane. In our case, the compressor injects oxygen into sedimentation tank to accelerate the microalbual sedimentation process. But when the compressor goes offline, it is critical to diagnose and service it as quick as possible to avoid costly repercussion and keep the plant running at full capacity. Therefore, it is crucial to provide tools to effectively and efficiently perform the field services. Through our role-based dashboard, monitoring a fleet of assets and deploy at a different sites or worldwide, provide real-time data to technicians who wanted to stay away from equipment outage. Next scenario will be showing how a maintenance manager have an overview of the asset across the plants and get alerts from predictive analytics, suggesting for the next action to be taken. With this general view of assets, information like model, serial numbers, locations, performance, sensor data, and maintenance log, predictive analytics are all in one place. We can select diaphragm number 1 to see its performance, status, and historical data over the times. Although the asset is showing as good, however, our predictive services is predicting normal activities. For more details, we can zoom into the pump, where we can see the reading of the compressor. There are no active alert from the machine. However, there's a predictive alert for the pressure leak, which has been flagged by the systems. So it is provided by the prediction model for those critical equipments. So looking at the low pressure and the flow rates, we can investigate the predicted failure and determine that the compressor is trending towards to a diaphragm rupture. The next scenario shows how teams can communicate within a single platform to get alert across. So the best course of action is to deploy a field technician to replace the physical part. The system led us to create a service ticket to dispatch a technician with information needed to resolve the problem. From the status of diaphragm number 1, you can see the operation status has changed after internal team has raised a ticket to alert the site team about this issue. Next, we will be able to demo how a plant manager is able to oversee its overall plant assets and processes all at its fingertip. With connectivity provided, real-time data is brought to the forefront of the service operations. On macro level, the same real-time data acquisition and machine learning can be also applied to an entire enterprise. For a plant manager, monitoring a fleet of different assets and processes can be complicated and overwhelming. With compressors, blowers, pumps, managers must ensure all assets are in the right conditions to prevent unplanned downtimes. The plant manager can see all individual assets with performance and alert status. But the plant manager must need to know more than that. They also need to know the status of the entire plant process. To monitor the entire plant performance, our system provides an operational overview of a plant in this demo. From the intake of raw water to the sedimentations and the aeration process through these 3 clarification tank at the top to the eventual discharge of the treated waters. Machine performance and the data, the sensor data tracking can trigger alerts and notification through the entire sanitation process. Next, we can see how a site maintenance team do a review before deploying the service technician to perform his task. In this scenario, the site maintenance team received the alert from the HQ. In order to understand the issue better, they can select the alert notification from diaphragm number 1 to view alerts detail and the compressor alert history. We can view diaphragm number 1 detail to examine the changes in the recorded pressure. The alert details review low pressure from the compressor, which indicated we have a dam in the diaphragm. In addition to see implication on the asset level, we also can see the damaged diaphragm is affecting other process. From the process field, we can see both diaphragm number 1 and the sedimentation tank need our attentions. We have also seen that the low pressure from the compressor, but we need to understand the issue in the sedimentation tank. Selecting the sedimentation tank shows the dissolved oxygen level is decreasing because of the compressor is operating below spec. This impacts the biological components process, which in turn slower the sanitation process, ultimately impact our ability to achieve KPI at the plant. Lastly, we will take a look how our field technicians prepare and perform his tasks to ensure first time right. Ensuring the service technician is having sufficient knowledge required to perform his task with augmented reality. Service technician has the in-depth knowledge and dynamics of the asset information they needed to quickly understand and diagnose and service the asset, all from his mobile device. In this demo scenario, to fix a diaphragm compressor, we can prepare and review relevant training, safety instruction, and simulation while simultaneously working. With the ability to explore components, we can have insight of a part name, ID, etc. to ensure replacement part are ordered correctly. Once technician knows how the compressor works, we can walk through the 3D digital instruction overlay on the real world compressor to fix the asset. All this technology help the technician to equip the knowledge and to improve the first time fixing rate, reduce the downtime. So are you ready to see the difference our solution can make at your plant? So what we can do as next step, we can schedule a discovery workshop to interview your team to understand current challenges, define key project objectives, identify the most urgent valuable area of improvement in your operations, develop a business case, and expect ROIs. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions regarding digital transformation or anything that we can assist you on. I've come to the end of my presentation demo. Thank you for your attention. Now I will hand back to Amira. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Okay, now for our last presenter today, Mr. Ng Kim Soon from Rockwell Automation. Mr. Ng Kim Soon.
Yes, good morning. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, you have not shared your screen yet.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, can. Clear.
Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Soon. If you don't mind, selamat sejahtera kepada tetamu-tetamu terhormat di kalangan audience dari Malaysia. Nama saya Kim Soon ya. My name is Kim Soon. I'm actually from Rockwell, Malaysia, in charge of cybersecurity and network services. Now, over here, what we're going to share with you is more towards cybersecurity for water utility. Now, without further ado, all right, let's move to the next screen. Okay, we're going to cover 4 agenda. Number 1 is what is the business driver that compel the reason to use cybersecurity. Number 2 is understanding the risk. In Bahasa Malaysia, we say memaham risiko, no? And number 3, compliance and standards. Number 4 will be RA approach, no? Cara kita memahami dan menandangi masalah-masalah atau risiko yang akan dapat. Alright, one of the key business driver for information security and functions and control in the last 3 years, because today a lot of organizations, especially now with the COVID-19, people are looking into IoT. Second, this increase in regulation. What we mean by regulation is under the national critical infrastructure from the government of Malaysia, quite a lot of utility company, they are mandated to look into cybersecurity, whereby to protect their critical infrastructure from any form of cyber attack. Evolving trend landscape. Now, over the years, we've seen that cybersecurity, cybercrime or cyber criminal, they are more advanced, and they find all ways and means. And now it's more prevalent because after during the COVID-19, we see that everyone is using mobile apps and everything. So it actually opened up wider spectrum of risk. And a lot of business, another thing is a lot of business leaders are looking at security as a competitive edge. Why? Like what we do every day in Shopee, Lazada, there are more and more security features incorporated so that both user, consumer, service provider are all protected. DevOps, IIS driven adoption. Now, for last 10 years, you can see that everyone is moving towards cloud. Either is on-prem or internal cloud or external cloud. So building a cloud application, yes, is good, but how about the cybersecurity portion and business initiative? During the COVID-19, because of the MCO and whatnot, a lot of new business initiative that actually users online and mobile devices and business-driven SAS adoption. As you can see today, a lot of application we see, whether it's Post Malaysia, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, Pengurusan Air Selangor, they are all using apps. Now, currently where we are from what Gartner has surveyed, we are at the awareness stage. Kita di tahap kesedaran apa risiko yang kita akan menghadapi. Alright, because what happened is a lot of them, they actually don't know where to start and how to start. What is the critical area to look at? Now, next. IT and OT convergence, as I mentioned earlier, and as my two colleagues has mentioned earlier, IT and OT will be closer and closer in the near future. There's no way we can run away, especially today with the smart devices we have. Now, there's there's always two scenarios. In IT, the outcome is always digital. What we mean by digital is not what you see on the screen and whatnot, not what you can key on the screen. But in OT, is always physical. What we mean by physical, priority is given to the integrity and reliability. Uptime is very important, like water. For those Malaysian, as you know, last couple of years, we have some water issue in Selangor. It become a headline news. Second thing, architecture. As you know, in water utility, from state to state, dari kerajaan negeri, all their infrastructure are different and isolated. And a lot of them are very task specific. All right. Endpoints. Endpoints, what we mean by the equipment we use, the HMI, the computer we use, is always heterogeneous because there's no regulation like banks. So it is always difficult to actually identify what are the endpoints they're using. And like I say, outcome is always visible, like the palm, like what Wesley say, the sensor and whatnot. Now, next. Cybercrime pay, and it's going to get worse. For the last 3 years, at least $12 billion USD losses in terms of due to ransomware attack. And 53% of the manufacturer has experienced cybersecurity breach in their facility. Now, why industrial companies? Kenapa? Organisasi seperti macam ni jadi sasaran. Now, because why? Number one is all this legacy equipment, infrastructure, they are not being patched. So there are vulnerabilities. It's like what you see in your phone every day. You see there are updates and whatnot because it's the reason why these updates are done to address the vulnerability or to enrich the features. But over here, we focus on vulnerability. So now, if you look at this part, the adversary to know the environment have many vulnerabilities. If attack can mean major consequences, means in other words, if there's an attack, the whole infrastructure is down. Now, most industrial automation are poorly inventorized. Let's say, take for example, in Selangor, there are so many water treatment plants, and a lot of times they have difficulties managing all the assets they have. They don't know where they are, who is managing, when was the last maintenance done, is it vulnerable, has it been hardened? No, is there a cybersecurity put in place? Now, Next, I'll talk about Ics Focus Campaign. All right, it all started before 210, but let's start with 210. Number one, all right, a lot of them, SolarWinds, one of the SIEM software. All right, the worm is targeting the SCADA and modifying the PLC. In other words, all the program logic control has been controlled by the cyber criminal to actually cripple or disable your system. In return, it's all about monetary gain. Second, you look at again, Night Dragon, another well-known malware, also targeting the SCADA and modifying the PLC. And under DQ, APT cyber attack, 20 over high-tech security defenses company were also compromised. In fact, in 2012, virus targeting energy sector, and it actually, it's the largest white attack. And this continued with Flame, targeting is more industrial espionage in the Middle East. Gauss, they steal information, like what sometimes we hear in the news in Malaysia, whereby there are scams. That is where they steal the information to use it as a scam for the customer. Red October, again, they target on government and research organization. KREX and Heartbeat is another one of them that actually do control over the remote access. It's a Trojan whereby they steal all information. In other words, to say that they actually have they have the ability to see whatever is traveling inside the traffic. Black Energy, Ukrainian power plant, I'm sure we heard it back in 2005. It was very hot in the news. And another round, Black Energy, because the thing is the attackers becoming more and more advanced and they discover more and more ways of vulnerability whereby they inject malware and they just cut off the power. And when it comes to water utility, it's the same. They can just cut off the water supply. Non-PETIA, back in 2017, was a big case. It affected a lot of ICS system. And that's when a lot of industry, they realized that they thought that cyber criminal only attack financial institutions. Starting from 2017, it's not true anymore because why? They found out that a lot of ICS, industrial control system, especially in the critical infrastructure, is a much easier target because very little or no cybersecurity framework has been implemented. And of course, you heard about WannaCry, where quite a lot of major shipping operator, utility were affected. Come to 2018, the oil and gas become the major target, and especially in Southeast Europe. All right, 2019, it become more and more apparent whereby ransomware. Ransomware is all about monetary gain. We have actually worked with a lot of customers whereby they were hit by ransomware. The whole industrial control system was out of control. That leads to a lot of risk. But worst of all, it become a very bad publicity in the media. 2020. All right. Again, they attack on the ICS. Now, the latest one was 2021, especially what Florida water treatment plant. The thing is, a lot of their system, they have very poor password. A lot of them share their password around, and is using outdated operating system. Some of them are still using Windows XP, which is not supported, or it actually opened to a lot of cyber security breach vulnerability. Now, what is at risk? Number one, loss of life. As you know, industrial control system, safety is paramount. Number two, stolen intellectual property. This is the most common objective because they want to steal your information, your plans, your marketing plans, and whatnot. Production process, that is very straightforward, whereby once your system has been compromised, There's no way that your plant can be operated. Unscheduled downtime, water disruption. It's a very good example. Damaged equipment, whereby most of the time, when the hacker hack your environment, they will damage your equipment, hoping that you will go back to them and ask them to rescue you. But in all the cases, once the cyber criminal got your money, they just leave you at the lurch. They don't care. Environment impact, as you can know. This cyber criminal, they have malicious intention. They want to create as much damage as possible, so that you will be at their mercy. Now, what are we trying to say? Without a holistic approach, tanpa approach secara holistic, ya, kemungkinan cyber attack akan berlaku bila-bila masa saja, because we cannot predict them. But what Rockwell offer is be able to help you to protect your environment. That's the next slide. Now, in Rockwell, we comply to IEC 62443. You can read in the internet website. In the website, it's widely practiced across all industrial environment, whereby from designing, manufacturing, implementing, managing industrial control system. So from all this ecosystem, number one, end user, asset owner, what has been done to protect the environment? Any framework they have put in, or SOP, that once they upgrade the system, what are the langkah berjaga-jaga? System integrator. A lot of system integrator, they will bring their group of workers to come to the environment. Now, how sure are you this system integrator use the notebook? As you can see today, everyone uses notebooks, smart devices. How sure are you this system integrator notebook, iPad, tablet, they are free from malware? Nobody knows. Security practitioner. Today, a lot of security practitioners, they are still trying to explore more and more, or deeper and deeper, in terms of vulnerability. ICS control and system vendor, ICS product and system vendor. A lot of people, a lot of organization today, they implement all this ICS, and it must have a very important cybersecurity practices in place. All right. So what we mean by cybersecurity, especially to a lot of organizations, they are equivalent to ISO 2701 or NIST cybersecurity framework. Now, this is what NIST all about. All right. Number one, we always look at identify. We always work with customer to understand what is the current state, apa keadaan semasa dan risiko dari segi sistem, aset dan data. We will actually come in to actually sit down with the stakeholder to understand the whole entire environment. Number two, implement safeguard to ensure delivery of critical infrastructure service. Untuk infrastructure and critical, we will come up with a framework how to safeguard this from any attacks. Number three, implement appropriate activities to identify cybersecurity event. What we mean by appropriate activities? That's a lot. To everyone today, every colleagues we have, they are using smart devices. This is just one example. Some of them, when they got no battery, they just plug into USB drive, to charge their phone. But a lot of people don't know that what your colleague do at home. I'm not saying they're bad people, but what they're doing at home, you don't know. Whether their mobile devices carry any malware, we don't know. So this is one of the what you call it, langkah berjaga-jaga to detect in case, let's say, one of your colleagues, he plug in his Android, or any of the contract worker plug in the USB drive, USB just to charge the phone. It's an innocent thing, but he doesn't know that his phone is already infected. Now, third thing is implementing activities when it comes to respond. In other words, if there's any incident, there must be a way to respond to the incident. That's to say that, if your place, if the infrastructure has been attacked, what are the activities? Macam dari segi kecemasan, bila berlaku kecemasan, apa yang perlu dilakukan untuk mengurangkan tahap damage dalam sistem itu. Recovery, like in the law environment, when there's incident like flood, there must be a recovery plan. So what is a recovery plan we are talking about? A lot of time, in terms of industrial control, every environment is different. So we have the subject matter to actually advise you, or together with your stakeholders or management, to come up with a recovery plan. What is Rockwell and Cisco CPWE? It's called Converged Plan Wide Ethernet, whereby in a simple terminology, it's a practice that is joint developed between Rockwell and Cisco. Cisco is a world leader for switches, routers, and whatnot, and together with Cisco, Rockwell together with Cisco, we have come up with this framework whereby it actually separate your IT and the OT together. Now, do take note that Rockwell Cybersecurity focus on the OT, operational technology. We don't touch the IT. And of course, whatever we build must be future ready, so that whatever you implement today, any IoT initiative or cloud initiative or smart initiative is all ready. And the content is relevant to both OT and IT. So di sini, di mana we harmonize the relationship between operational technology and IT people. Now, what is our deliverables? A lot of time when we implement this in any organization, all right, all this has been tested and proven. And we also encourage customers to get a third party to actually validate. And industrial network security white papers, that's where we publish a lot of articles, especially if you have connectivity to the cloud. Now, this is how the plan CPWE works. This is where the operational technology, where you have your CCTV, you have your Wi-Fi, maybe today there are many people talking about IoT, LoRaWAN, and whatnot. So this is where your downstream item is. Of course, there are other things like HMI, soft starter, drive, control motor controller, I/O equipment. All these are all vulnerable to cybersecurity attack. And the next one is the cell, whereby zone 0 to 2. Some environment they have robotic, server drive, and all those things. All these are all controlled, maybe remotely controlled by Wi-Fi and whatnot. So these are the OT layer that's the most vulnerable. As what I shared with you just now, the attacks are mainly focused on this layer. So what CPWE does is we separate the OT via the industrial IT. All right, whereby this layer is to protect and separate between the information technology and the operational technology. Now, what is the advantage? If there's any attack on the IT, the OT is protected, or if there's any attack on the OT, the IT is not affected. This is what we call the Dnc Zone, secara ringkas. All right, whereby we are the subject matter expert to help you to design this environment. Next. Visibility is the key. We always tell the customer, if you don't have a visibility in your environment, that exposes you to a lot of risk. All right. Number one, level 0 protocols, conversation frequency. When you talk about all this, you're talking about what in your plant. What are the protocols? What are the connecting equipment and supporting equipment? Some equipment as simple as switchgear, they are vulnerable. They are a good way to enter into a one by the cyber criminal. Level 1, application. All of us has got very proprietary application in our water treatment plant. So how? Is there a proper patches? Is there a proper SOP to actually address the patches? Are we in sync? are we complying to the governance and compliance patches? Because like we mentioned earlier, a lot of organizations have difficulty inventorize the asset. So the moment you don't know what asset you got, definitely you don't know what are the risks you're having. Level 2, devices. As you know, a lot of devices today are IP enabled, whereby they have the type, the vendor, the model, serial number, from where IP address, OS, and whatnot, MAC address, and OS. Now, a lot of equipment they're running on Android. How are you going to address Android's vulnerability? Just example, or some they may have their proprietary operating system. Are you going to let them just sit there and do nothing, or you do a proactive role in actually monitoring the vulnerability? And of course, level 3 location. Where are all the assets located? As you know, in a lot of water treatment plant, a lot of assets are actually distributed across the states. And it's very critical and important to know where are all these located and what is the purpose of the asset. Because a lot of people say, okay, this, for example, but pump for what? You don't know. So how critical it is, how much is vulnerable to cybersecurity attack, we don't know. Imagine one day, maybe say my hometown is in Perak, there's Bukit Merah and whatnot. So if anyone were to attack the place, and maybe the water utility board may not know that they have an asset over there, definitely is exposed to cyber criminal attack. Next. What is our proactive approach to industrial cybersecurity? We always start with identify and protect. What we mean by identify and protect is asset inventory services. We actually sit down with you, go through all your plant, let it be in the district, let it be in the plant, the district up to the state level. Number 2, qualify patch management. Once we inventorize, we'll tell you, Mr. Customer, these are equipment you have. The firmware has not been updated for the last 10 years. And these are the risks if you don't do the patch management. Number 3, vulnerability and risk assessment. What we mean by vulnerability and risk assessment, we'll actually advise you based on our knowledge that, okay, if this particular HMI or let's say SCADA, what is the risk? If this SCADA has been attacked, what will happen and what will it impact us? Once we identify and protect, we will put a Ics security zone that what I share with you just now. We separate all together, all right, so that anything would happen, it is only isolated, all right, and deploy countermeasure. What we mean by countermeasure means, assuming there are attacks coming from, let's say today we have Selangor, the attack come from maybe Hulu Langat, all right, there is a countermeasure over there just to reduce the damage or reduce the continent of attack. Now, in case you are being attacked during the time, or during the time when you're in operation, we provide real-time threat services. What we mean by real-time threat services, Rockwell has got over 250 cybersecurity experts worldwide, whereby we will collect all the data. And this data will tell you, hey, Mr. Customer, there is an attack on this particular equipment in other side of the world. We will advise you to actually look into that equipment. Is it updated to the latest firmware? Now, you cannot just simply update the firmware without shutting down the plant, because it may affect other processing system. So this is where we will prepare you to do an upgrade at the most appropriate time. Remote monitoring and administrative services. As you know, patches and maintenance is an ongoing process. A lot of organizations today, they are struggling because the threat landscape keep changing. So a lot of organizations today, especially the multinational, they actually outsource this to us under managed services, whereby we manage everything. Customer will focus on the core business. Handling incident handling and response. What if something attack? It's like a lot of us have security guard. It's more of incident handling and response if there's any threat. In the ICS, we also apply the same thing, whereby if there's any incident that's handling, there's any incident that happened, how are we going to handle and respond to the incident? That is very targeted to the incident, because we have the ability to actually identify or pinpoint the incident and have it to recover. Incident response, disaster recovery, and planning services. A lot of us, we as all of you understand that all organizations have disaster recovery in place, but it's more of physical, where people go in case any incident happen or any disaster happen, they can go elsewhere to work. But how about the ICS? There's no way you can move one asset to another asset. No. So what we do is we will actually help you to respond to the incident without you leaving the office. And backup and recovery. In the worst case scenario, if your environment is breached, what are you going to do? No? To recover to its original state is very difficult, because you don't know to what extent the damage is. What other data has been compromised? That's why Rockwell come in. We have the expertise to build an IDC, industrial data center, to actually back up all the data and restore to its original state. Even to the extent the data that you back up, we will make sure that whatever data is backed up, it's clean and free from cyber criminal or ransomware or malware. Now, what is customer outcome? What does the customer get? Number one, proactively discover vulnerability, misconfiguration, and secure network. This is where it's crucial. Macam kita katakan lah, sediakan payung sebelum hujan. All right. So this is where we come in to actually say that we will implement the process to prevent things from happening, to reduce it to a very minimal risk, both from every single equipment vulnerability, misconfiguration. A lot of time they configure, but they do not lock it, or there's no strong password to lock it. So anyone can come in and do a lot of changes. And secure network connection. Because secure network connection, today we leverage on people like TM, Time Telecom, Maxis, and whatnot. But those are all, we are just renting them. But how secure is the connection? This line vulnerable. I'm not saying they are not doing anything, but it's just that we are trying to reduce the risk. Second thing is reduce cybersecurity in the industrial infrastructure. What we mean by that? Now, once you know there are gaps or say exposure, we will actually implement very structured and systematic framework. Okay, this other item has been updated, all right, and it has been tested and validated, so that when the audit we can get an internal audit or external party to do a pen test to ensure that whatever we have done, it actually meets your requirement. And last but not least, identification and classification of assets across your ICS network. Now, this is where it's very critical. It's like in the library, we sort out everything very clean, very tidy, very neat. Everything has an index and whatnot, so that in the case that, hey, management asks you, Mr. Ng Kim Sun, I heard that maybe Kuala Langat, some of the are old, like what Wesley mentioned, outdated. Is it vulnerable? Immediately you can tell management, yes, this equipment is old. Yes, Rockwell has assistance to protect the thing, but due to the vendor migrate has come out with a new model, it need to be changed in next 2 years. This will give you the ability to plan as well, and subsequently you will go back to the whole entire life cycle, whereby this practice is actually second nature, whereby you will have the ability to actually monitor the risk and find ways to actually reduce the risk to a very minimal level. All right, these are the roadmap. Strategy overview. In a strategy overview, we always approach based on risk is always risk-based approach or framework. We always look at your risk, understand the future operating vision. I'm sure today everyone talk about Industry 4.0 and whatnot. So whatever we do, we also emphasize on what is your future plan. Review your current cybersecurity strategy. If you have an existing one, we can help you to review to make sure that it caters the current requirement. If you don't have, we can build one for you. Understand the collaborative stakeholder needs. This is where there's always a gap, whereby, especially in the water treatment plant, is so distributed. Malaysia, a lot of people, a lot of this water utility, they have operation across the states. How are these people going to work together as one? All right. Create alignment around a single vision and cybersecurity framework. It's like, when this thing has been created, everyone knows what to do, how to do, and how to approach it. Identify the opportunity. Conduct asset inventory and vulnerability assessment. So once we have everything, we will do item by item to understand what is this asset about and what is the vulnerability. Determine applicable standard of cybersecurity implementation requirement. The good thing about Rockwell is we are hardware agnostic. Maybe you can have Amazon, you can have Yokogawa, you can have Honeywell. It doesn't matter. We will work together with them. All right. So you don't have to worry. We are the single point of contact to actually help you to manage the entire thing. Identify facility to review and understand operating practices. Today, some people, they just put some equipment maybe fail or old or it's not up to standard, cannot cater the bandwidth. They just buy a consumer grade equipment, just put it there. But they don't know that the risk of using consumer grade equipment, because why? It's exposed to a lot of cybersecurity risks, especially, we come across some customers say, I buy from Shopee from China, it's so cheap. But at the end of the day, yes, they may save a couple of thousand, but how sure are you the equipment you buy is actually resilient and have cybersecurity capability? And not they will be hacked. Determine which area across the attack continuum and the primary focus. There's always one particular area which what we call primary focus. There's the heart. Like we said, so long as your heart is healthy, you are healthy all the way. So there's always a primary focus. And last but not least, under identifying the opportunity, we will identify the risk, impact, and tolerance for immediate project. What if something happened? What is the impact? Who will you affect? A lot of them may not know. That's where we come in to help you to actually realize what are the possibility of impacts. Now, business case. Business case is where IT and OT stakeholders are aligned, right? And ROI. A lot of people, because their times management are saying, after implementing, what is the ROI? This is where we come in to help you to actually explain to the senior management. Now, besides ROI, we're talking about this resiliency. All right. So long as your environment is running perfectly, it's already a ROI. Imagine if there's an outage or if there's any disruption, definitely there'll be a loss of revenue. Develop program, develop project, program cost, time horizon, commitment, prioritizing capital and operation expenses. This is where we come in to actually advise you. Okay, these are the priority number one. All right, you should look into this low line. Easy to upgrade, easy to upgrade, easy to manage, and we'll go to a more complex environment to make sure that this journey is easy to adopt and they are all documented. Determine financial stakeholder approval cycles and requirements. Every year, finance department will ask you, hey, why you need to spend on this money? Why we need to buy this? Why you need to buy that? We will help you to justify based on the real case scenario that happened in other parts of the world. Evaluate and document workforce skill requirement to support strategy. A lot of people will say, no, look, cybersecurity. We don't know anything about it. We just make sure that we put a security guard over there. Look, yes, it's a good action, but it's a good initiative. But security guard, they just monitor people moving around. But what if the security guard, he himself, his mobile devices being infected with malware and plugged into the USB? That's it. Checkmate. And last but not least, what is a roadmap? Well, after strategy review, understanding the opportunity, the business case, what is a roadmap? Okay, this is where the journey starts, whereby project, pilots, or facility meet the investment requirements are sequenced. What we mean by that? So if there's a stakeholder or senior management of all this facility or their investment, you can assure that whatever investment given by Kerajaan Negeri or Kerajaan or federal government, whatever investment they put in is all protected. Organizations, stakeholders, and teams are aligned with the outcome. Everyone is aware. We will do a workshop where everyone is aware what needs to be done, what are the langkah berjaga-jaga, and if there's any kecemasan, what we should do. All right. Program management philosophy is documented and established. This is where, if assuming there are changes in the management, there are new alignment, new board of directors, have a very comprehensive document, all right, in case there are auditor come in, external auditor, internal auditor, you have all this in place, and all this in place so that you can trace back. Initiative can be fund in CAPEX or OPEX over multi-year. Now, today, a lot of people are talking about investment, how to justify. This is where the beauty of Rockwell is we are very flexible in terms of working with customer. We can do on a multi-year basis on managed services, whereby you can reserve your cash flow for more critical activity. Project timeline and resources are estimated to allow effective planning. And all the timeline that we share with the customer, or we don't collaborate with the customer, we always take into risk, what if situation. A lot of time under project management, there are always risks. If a project there's no risk, means something wrong with the project, through my experience. But so what we are trying to do is Rockwell will be very proactive in terms of timeline. We'll ask all the stakeholders, is this in line or aligned with your department? And is the resources you have? If you don't have, we will do, we train, we deploy, and whatnot.
Sorry, Mr. Ng.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're actually running out of time.
Okay, good. This is my last slide. So in other words,
from the audience ready.
Okay, good. This will be my last slide. I'm sorry for okay, now we can be a strategic advisor, IT, OT, security practitioner. We are a trusted supplier. As you know, Rockwell has been established for more than a century, and we work with a lot of industrial leading partners. All right, that will be the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. All right, now I think we can start with our Q&A sessions. But first, I'll pass the screen to our moderator today, Mr. Gary Weiss.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you to all of our presenters. I think we've had 3 very good presentations this morning, which I hope were very eye-opening to everybody who was listening in. I'd like to open up the discussion with our 3 panelists, and maybe I can start with Abhay, which is, what do you see as the main issues for Malaysia in regards water supply resilience over the next 10 years, and especially to do with smart water?
Okay, so as far as, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I think the issues, the main issues regarding water industry, okay, I think a lot of people have talked about it. Basically, the same issues apply to Malaysia. Okay, so one of it is aging infrastructure, the population growth, climate change, and so on. So, from my perspective, what I think is climate change is possibly one of the biggest issues creating an impact on the water industry. As greenhouse gas emissions cause the planet to increase in temperature, the world's hottest regions are becoming hotter and drying up. So the climate change has actually altered the availability, quantity and quality of water. And water stress, droughts, and floods basically is an impact of climate change. And if I were to go and extend that, so what can we do as a company to help this out? Or how can we as users of water can basically manage this? So we can actually do this on a daily basis. We can fix the leaks that are happening. We can turn off the tap. We can ensure that we use water efficient appliances and basically recycling water. And as automation vendor, Rockwell Automation can support the water industry by providing the automation system for desalination plants, recycling plants, or even automating wastewater management plants. So a more resilient economy actually depends on shifting to such sustainable practices.
Okay, and following on from that, we've had a question from the audience, which is basically, what hurdles does the water industry face in adopting these smart water technologies?
Okay, so in terms of digital technologies, is the hurdle?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest issue as far as adopting digital technologies is the mindset or the understanding of what these digital technologies can benefit the industry or can benefit that end user. Now, it's important to ensure that there is an acceptance right from the engineer level all the way to the management level that there are some benefits that are going to come along. It's important to hold some value workshops so that the stakeholders understand what are some of the challenges, what are the issues, and how to resolve these challenges and bring benefits. Now, as we hold these workshops, it is also important to make sure that you don't embark on a digital journey from start to finish, immediately. What you do is you take some steps along the way. So what you do is you start putting a kind of a blueprint on how of where you are and where you want to go. And what you do is at every point of time, let's say being every frequency, let's say we do it over 6 months or maybe even 3 months. What we do is we make sure that the company understands, what are some of the challenges, what are the benefits, and do some proof of concepts of the automation solutions and make sure that they're getting the benefits so that as they move along, they capture these benefits and see those benefits. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult because if you have decided to spend, let's say $1 million, but you're not going to get the benefits in the near term, it's very difficult for your management to proceed and keep spending that money. So you need to make sure that you get this revenue back or the benefits back as soon as you start investing in the digital journey. I hope that was long to your question. Sorry.
No, thank you very much. That was an interesting answer. I'd like to move on to Wesley now, if Wesley's still here.
I'm here.
I saw in your presentation you were showing a demo, an example from a wastewater treatment plant, which I guess would be similar to a water treatment plant. But I'm just wondering whether the systems can also be used for the entire supply system. So looking at the reservoirs and the monitoring of the pipes, flows and pressures in your network, and even the customer metering.
I would say the answer is yes, because in our demo we set the environment via a plant operation. In fact, the purpose of having a IoT platform is to be able to connect and any equipment, smart equipments, and to be applied in the different scenario. So we are actually because nowadays there are always new technology come up and to cover from the water resources management to overlook the reservoir level, the water quality, even after you treat all this water and down to their distribution. All these different informations, collections, process, and we call this a contextualization. To make this meaningful to different people and different departments can be done on this IoT platform. That I think this is the purpose to have this in the core of our innovation suite.
And do you have any examples from projects that you've done for some of these areas, or? Yeah,
we have very successful cases in terms of managing the city water distributions to reduce fluctuations, and also to basically reduce non-revenue water. Yeah, and to reduce the losses. And also we help the customer to monitor the reservoir level, and also in a way to reduce the consumption of water in actual fact. I'm happy to provide you some of the actual detail about our success use case.
Okay, because we've had a couple of questions on the non-revenue water side. So I think people are quite interested to understand, what sort of returns they can get on their investment in terms of reducing non-revenue water. I'm not sure whether your system actually would physically help them to reduce non-revenue water, or would it just help them to actually monitor and pinpoint where they need to undertake those non-revenue water management works?
Yeah, so we have a team of experts. Basically, they are the process engineer, the mathematicians. If we wanted to implement such a machine learning, artificial intelligence systems, before we commit anything or to promise the return for investments, we will sit down with customer to understand the current situation, looking at the historical data to analyze the variability in their systems. And then from there, we have our proprietary framework, basically a methodology to calculate the returns. And we will tabulate all the benefits and basically make a proposal for you. And this is basically something we can guarantee, something like the performance guarantee to our customer. Okay. And very often that we turn off our customers, say, hey, your system is very stable. But we do have a customer that they can see return of investment within like 1.5 months. Okay, that's very quick. One of the questions has been about river pollution, which has been an issue in Malaysia, especially in Selangor over the last few years. Is that something that your system could help with the monitoring and alerting for these sort of pollution problems? If we have the sensor in place, and it is always possible to collect information, but the difference here is how easily you can get information and process it and notify the stakeholder. So yeah, our system in place is able to connect with those modern equipments, smart devices that supported those latest technologies.
Yeah, because you'd need to have very fast reaction. That's right. To sensing that pollution to then managing the plant or the intake. Okay, thank you very much, Wesley. I'll ask my next question to Kim Soon. We've actually had a question from the audience, which is, who would be interested in hacking water companies, and what are they trying to do?
Well, from our experience, cyber is more of industrial espionage. Ultimately, it's more towards to destroy the reputation or monetary gain. As you know, just a couple of years ago, they're talking about pengurusan air selama, the takeover, and what are the monetary value involved. So this has become a target by the cybersecurity criminals. All right. Traditionally, we spoke to a lot of customers. They always say that, hey, look, no, we don't have money. There's no money inside here. It's just water. But then again, look, because all this data are all published in their website, and that's where cyber criminal will start to look into it, analyze, and plan their attacks. And a lot of these attacks resulted in a very bad publicity in the media, like the Star newspaper, News Straits Times, and whatnot, and become a subject of, I don't know whether it's right to say, but people will lose confidence in the management. And like we always say, prevention is better than cure. As long as you know what's happening and what are the risks, together with Wesley, we integrate as one team, whereby he collect the data, I analyze the data. And together, we actually tell them, hey, look, what has been collected, these are the potential risks.
Right. So, I mean, with these threats of cyber security, would this not make water utilities more reluctant to increase their technology at the water treatment plants and try to keep it basic so that they're not going to have these sort of threats?
I think from my observation in the public media, and our experience working with a lot of water utility company, they are moving towards modernization in line with the government industrial 4.0, whereby the service level SLA towards their customer need to be improved. People are getting more educated. They are more demanding than what they used to be in the 80s. So it's more of the public's pressure, the consumer that compel the water utility company to move into this era, whereby traditional way of doing things is not applicable anymore, especially during the last 2 years in Malaysia, where COVID-19, there were lockdown, there were water disruption. The people are very unhappy with the situation. A lot of them already have the burden of the pandemic. What more with the water disruption? How are they going to wash their hands? Lots of complaints. I mean, that one customer I met with, they were having so much complaint. They have to do something about it. It's all the social media. So I would say that they are not reluctant, but it's just that they are being careful. I use the word careful. They are not reluctant. They are just being careful. And like I say in my earlier stage, they are just at the realization stage, whereby they have to do something, but how are they going to do it? That is where we come in to help them.
Yeah. Gary, if I might add in, if I think that was an interesting question, why a hacker would go after a water company. In fact, there have been cases in California and in Florida where hackers have actually gone and hacked that company. And there are a lot of, if you Google that, you can find out a lot of information. Why they did that? Not sure, but there have been cases. And what it does is basically suddenly the mouse starts moving, the set points start moving. Suddenly there is injection of chemicals, and they've completely hacked the whole system. So, there are hackers everywhere and they do all sorts of stupid things. So it's just make sure that you have enough security in place, be it a water company, be even oil and gas company, or whichever company it is.
Yeah, okay. And probably the last question for you, Kim Soon, is water utilities. I mean, they used to, if you go back 10 plus years ago, they used to have quite big IT departments because they would be managing their own servers and information. But nowadays, it tends to be all cloud-based and people not really managing it themselves. So I'm just wondering whether there's the capability these days within the utilities?
Yes, they are building up the capabilities. I would say at the very infancy stage. That's why we approach quite a lot of utility company to actually share what we have. Now, the objective is to make sure that we have the subject matter expert that actually help them to move from here to there in a very systematic approach, holistically. And this is where, just I mentioned, we train and we deploy, whereby we also equip our customer with a very honorable level of knowledge, whereby they can do countermeasure. Because if any disruption were to happen, especially in the water supply in Selangor, as you know, Selangor, there are a lot of major manufacturing company in Penang as well. If that happened, the board will have a tough time to actually answer to all these multinational that they are invested in these two particular states. I'm just saying because Selangor and we think they are one of the highest contributors to GDP. Therefore, having the right skill set is always the key essence or the key formula to actually be more prepared to counter anything. And we always say people, process, and product. That is our philosophy.
Okay, and I'd just like to finish up with Abe again. The water in Malaysia, the water tariffs are quite low. It's similar to a lot of Southeast Asia, but do you think the current water tariffs in Malaysia are sufficient to enable the necessary digital transformations that we're looking at? Hello, are you there, Abe? I think you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that it was hard to comment on whether water tariffs are less or more, because it all depends on the government on how they want to approach this. But if you are talking about whether that's going to help the water industry from a digital economy perspective, then the water companies have to decide what kind of benefits they are going to reap from putting this digital journey together. Like I said before, if they can see some near-term benefits, then they will certainly go for it. And here is where we as a company come in to talk to them and provide these workshops. We start off with a workshop and then we put up some plans together. We put up a blueprint together on how that journey needs to be executed. And then we go step by step by saying that within a certain time, you should be able to see those benefits coming back to you. So in my opinion, water tariff is hard for me to comment, because again, it goes back to the government on how they want to work with the country.
And that, just following on from that, we've had a question, which is, does Rockwell offer any innovative financial packages for performance contracts with utilities for mutual benefits towards smart water solution partnerships?
Not that I've come across, but we are certainly willing to take a look at it and understand where the customer is coming from. Okay, we might want to understand what are the challenges the customer has, and we can work around that if possible. But if you ask me for a reference, I don't think we have done that in the water industry for now.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much to all three of our speakers and for answering the Q&A that has come through. I'd just like to do a quick wrap up. I think what we've heard today is that smart water is still something that utilities are aiming towards and will find beneficial in terms of their operational management. And I think post-pandemic, where we've had a lot of people working from home or not able to travel as extensively around their networks, it's sort of proven that we do need to become more remote in terms of how we work and manage our networks. So I believe that more and more utilities are going to start to have to move to that remote management way of looking at their networks. I think what we've seen today is that Rockwell have a very good solution for enabling utilities to manage in most cases will be thousands of sensors that they're going to have across their networks, not just at the plants, but also at the reservoirs and also in their distribution systems and customer metering. So having a very good, stable platform that enables you to manage those systems is going to be critical. And one of the key things that we would need to look at, because this is all going to be cloud-based or internet-based so that people can access, is going to be cybersecurity. And I think we've seen that there have been a number of companies that have been hacked, especially through ransomware, where people have been forced to pay huge amounts of money to have their systems released. And that is even with water utilities as well. So the whole cybersecurity is a very important aspect when looking at how we move our systems more online and more cloud-based. So hopefully that gave a good overview of what we've heard today. I'm sure that the people from Rockwell would be more than willing to speak to you further. If you have any further questions, you can contact them or go through MWA. So thank you very much. I'll pass it back to Amira.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. I guess before also thank you to our speakers, Mr. Abheduhe, Mr. Wesley, and Mr. Ng. So before we go and before we take group photos, I would like to share a slide for MWA Next Webinars. Here it is. Our next webinar will be on the 17th of March with Ministry of Environment and Water. Be happening 9 until 11 a.m. And our next one is MWA Masterclass. The first one, 28th of March, Monday, 3 until 5 p.m. And then the third one is with also the Economic Planning Unit Prime Minister Department. That's happening on the 5th of April, Friday. This one, I think we have not yet get the time. And the last one, let me check. This one is with Minister Dialogue, 31st of March. And that's happening. Next one is our Mwa Water Fun Challenge. This one will be happening. Wait, let me pause that. This one will be happening for 1st of July to 31st of August. Registration period is 1st April till 31st of August. You guys are welcome to join. Our next, this is our publication that we currently have. We are also advertised for Malaysia Water Quarterly Edition, MWIG, Malaysia Water Bulletin, sorry, not MWIG, Malaysia Water Bulletin. And if you like to organize a seminar with us, as Rockwell did, you guys may contact us here. And this is also the same. I guess that's all. Thank you. All right, I hope to see you all soon. Can we have everyone open their cameras for group photos? All right.